Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining, guys. It's great to see you. I know that we're all just climbing the walls still. It's not quite the business that we're used to, but it's nice to see that things are slowly starting to open up again. And the market's definitely picked up quite a bit. I'm sure you guys have seen all the momentum, all the buyer demand, consumer confidence kind of return to healthy levels, I would say. And I personally have been super busy the last couple months. I've been in about 4 or 5 bidding wars, some of them as high as 17 offers on a property. So it's things have really come back quite a bit. What are you guys finding? Just want to get a sense of your experience. Tell me about what you guys have been seeing out there in the field. Are you out there showing homes? Are you working with clients? Has anyone done a deal recently that you'd like to share? I'd love to hear from you. So Linda says bidding wars everywhere. Yeah. What market do you work in, Linda? I'm curious because I work mostly in central Toronto, Etobicoke, but I just had a multiple offer out in Mississauga as well. I was out in East York about 6 weeks ago in multiples. Anybody else? Jay, Kenneth, Ashraf, what's your experience been? Have you seen competition? Are you in multiples? Has anyone done any deals recently that they'd like to share? Bidding wars everywhere. Markham, GTA, Etobicoke, Mississauga. Yeah, so pretty much across the entire GTA. That's what I'm seeing as well. Jay says slow in Niagara, over 450. Interesting. It's always good to get a sense of what's happening outside my sandbox because I'm just used to pretty much central Toronto. I don't typically go further west than Mississauga or further east than East York or the Danforth. But yeah, it sounds like across the entire GTA, there's multiples, there's competition, bidding wars. So it's really good to see. I mean, things were slow for about, in my experience, about a month to 5 weeks from mid-March, once the state of emergency was declared, until about mid to late April. And then about the third week in April, I started to see a lot of new momentum and just buyers getting back out there, things really picking up. So I'm glad everyone's been busy. That's good news. It's nice to feel like we're kind of getting back to normal, at least from a work perspective. So what I'd love to talk about today, everyone, is basically just discussing lead generation strategies and tips and anything that I can share to help all of you with your business. But I'd also like to cover lead converting and follow-up because that's one thing that's not really discussed that much. The course is focused on lead generation, but obviously converting is really important. If you can't convert the leads, then what's the point? So I'd like to help some of you with some follow-up and conversion best practices that have been working really well for me throughout my whole journey for about 6 years now. And I'll just share something that happened recently, which is a good example to kind of illustrate that no doesn't necessarily mean no. So for those of you that are generating leads successfully through Facebook or Google, or even if you get inquiries from sign calls or really any other kind of marketing, you'll notice very often that when you call people, their first reaction is, no, I'm not interested. I'm not serious. I'm just browsing. But that's just people's natural defense mechanism. And I just want to really talk about this experience that was really kind of eye-opening for me. So I had a woman sign up on my website through Google Ads. She was looking for Etobicoke homes for sale. That's the ad she responded to. And I called her immediately because with online leads, you want to call them as quickly as you possibly can. It's been proven that if you call within the first 5 minutes, your chances of converting jump by about 10 times. So there's a 5-minute window where whenever possible, you want to get on the phone and you want to call them immediately. So I called her within probably 2 minutes of her signing up. She was still on my site. And the first thing she said was, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not really interested. I was just browsing. Thank you." And she was trying to get off the call. And I think in that situation, our natural tendency is just to say, "Okay, no problem. If you have any questions, give me a call. You have my contact information." But I don't really think that's the way to approach it. I think when someone immediately throws their guard up, the best thing we can do is say, "Well, if you were to consider moving, when would you likely make a move? When would be an ideal time frame?" So you're kind of speaking in hypothetical terms now. You're not saying, "Well, when are you looking to buy?" You're saying, "Well, if you were looking to buy, what would be a good timeline for you?" And that question is very effective because right away it gets somebody communicating, it gets somebody opening up, their guard starts to drop. So as soon as I ask that question, she's like, "Oh, well, probably next year." And then I followed up with, "Well, if you found the right home before next year, would you consider expediting your plans?" And then she said, "Yes, I would." And that was all I needed to hear, because at that point I knew that she just said no out of instinct. It's almost just like a reaction, right? It's a programmed reaction that people have when you call them. They don't want to feel like they're being sold. So I started probing. I started asking her more questions. What type of home are you looking for? What specific areas in Etobicoke? Do you have a home you need to sell? Are you renting? Turns out she's renting. She's on a month to month. She's flexible on timing. And I'm taking her out on an orientation tour next week to show her some properties. So the way that I get people interested in the orientation tour is I just say to them, "Listen, why don't I send you a short list of the best options that meet your criteria? You can go through them. You can pick out 3 to 4 of your favorites. I'll set them up. We'll go out for an hour and a half, and I'll just show you what's available." It's simply an orientation tour. You're not allowed to buy. The purpose is just to educate you on the market. And that way there's no risk, because so many agents, they're just very short-sighted. They're just looking for the quick business, the quick deals. But most of the leads that sign up online, they're just in the information gathering stages. They might not necessarily be ready to buy now. Most of them aren't. Some of them are. I've done deals within one showing, but the majority are still, I would say, 3 to 9 months out, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. So you want to be able to get in front of people at the first opportunity so you can use the orientation tour as a way to build rapport. When you're in front of people and you're showing them around, the idea is not to like put them in offer mode immediately. The idea is to create a relationship where they feel comfortable working with you, and then you can really kind of earn their loyalty. And sometimes when you take them out on an orientation tour, even though they have no intention of buying right now, they'll see a home, they'll fall in love with it, and they'll buy it. So that happened just last week, actually, with some clients that I actually met at an open house, and they said that they weren't looking for at least 6 to 9 months, and it was very preliminary. So I offered to take them on an orientation tour just to educate them. I had no intention of putting in an offer. And then the third property I showed them, they fell in love, and we got it. This just happened last week. So you never know. People will naturally throw up their guard, but we just need to get better at asking the right questions and really kind of creating a dialogue, and then getting them out to see homes. Because once we get them out to see homes, the selling tends to take care of itself. People always act emotionally with real estate. They see a property, they fall in love with it, and then we facilitate it. We take care of them. We make sure that they're provided with guidance and advice. But I just wanted to talk about that recent experience, because that happens all the time. And I'm sure some of you have noticed that, where people immediately will be guarded on the phone and they'll say, "No, no, no, thanks. I'm not interested. I'm just looking." Don't let that stop you in your tracks. Well, if you were to consider moving, when would you be looking to make a move? Or sometimes I'll say, "That's okay. I have people signing up on my site all the time that are not ready. What would be an ideal time frame for you? Are you considering buying in the next 12 months? So you just want to open up a conversation. Don't let no stop you in your tracks. No doesn't usually mean no. No usually just means I need to trust you. I need to feel comfortable with you first before I open up. So I hope that helps. And if you're interested in some follow-up scripts, just drop me a line in the chat and I can email you a script that's been working well for me. Does anyone else want to share any recent experiences with leads, with generating leads, connecting with leads, landing clients, showing homes? Tell me something good. I want to hear some success stories. We need to hear some positive in this time. We need more celebrations. Tell me something good. Okay, guys, I'll be sure to send you that script. Thank you for that. Saba, Julia. I'll actually post it in the group as well, so you can just download the PDF, but I'll email it to you individually. So who's had some wins lately? New listings, deals, generating leads? Is anyone having success with Facebook or Google? Do you have any questions that I can help you with? I don't really have a set structure for these. It's more of an open mastermind where I want to be able to share some value and some insight, but also just answer questions. So who's got a question for me or anything I can help you with? And guys, don't be shy to turn your microphones on. Can you share some ads you're doing now? Sure. So I actually have an ad right now in Etobicoke. I live in Etobicoke, I work in Etobicoke, and I really like it. A lot of my business is downtown, but I'm actually trying to move more of it to the West End because I like the price point and I just like the neighborhood. So the ad that I'm using now is Google Ads, and I'm only spending $10 a day, and I'm getting about 3 to 4 leads a day for the last 5 or 6 days. It slowed down a little bit when the state of emergency was initially declared in mid-March, and then it started to pick up late April, and now it's really pumping. So $10, 4 to 5 leads a day, only about $2 to $3 a lead, which actually is the cheapest I've ever spent, because what I've noticed is there's a lot more online activity. So there's been a huge surge in online inquiries because more people are at home, more people are working from home, and they're just online. More people are using the internet. So there's actually been a lot more interest and inquiries and leads, and the cost of the leads are cheaper. And I think one of the reasons the cost of the leads are cheaper as well is because there's less competition, because a lot of realtors have decided to scale back or pause their marketing spend. But I've actually decided not to do that. I want to keep going because I've been fortunate to be busy the last couple of months, but it's also really important that I never turn off the tap. I always want to keep the prospecting engine going, especially when I'm busy, because when you're busy, we have a tendency to stop lead generating because we're busy showing homes, going to inspections, having consultations. But that's when we need to be lead generating more than ever, is when we're busy, because once we do 2 or 3 deals, we need to be able to have consistency and have our pipeline always full. So I've kept my ads going the entire time. Right now I'm running an Etobicoke ads for home, Etobicoke homes for sale ad on Google Ads. It's very straightforward. Basically, it's top 10 Etobicoke homes for sale, street view, walk score, and virtual tours, street view, walk score, and more. Sign up for daily email alerts. Exactly what I talk about in the course, pretty much the same wording. And that's on the first page of Google. I think I'm on the second spot. And then that directs people to an Etobicoke homes for sale landing page. Now, maybe I can actually bring this up on my screen. Give me 1 second and see if I can share my screen here. Okay, so just bear with me, everyone. communities, Etobicoke. Okay, so can everyone see this? Let me know if you can see my computer screen. I'm assuming you guys can see this, yes? Okay, so this is basically the page that I send people to. So I have the Etobicoke ad running on Google, and then they click on the ad, and then they land on this page. And this is through Agent Locator. This is exactly what I share in the course, step by step. So when they land on the Etobicoke Homes for Sale page, they start browsing around, and the first listing they click, they have to register. So it brings them to this screen, get instant access to all properties for sale plus daily email updates. Registration is free and takes less than 20 seconds. Then they have to punch in their email address, their name, and their phone number, and that's it. So literally exactly what I teach in the Google Ads section of the course is what I'm doing now and what I've always done. It's so consistent and it works like clockwork. So that's been really, really effective. So you guys, I encourage you to go back into the Google section of the course if you're interested in running Google Ads. Facebook is amazing, but I actually prefer Google a little bit because I like the fact that people are coming to me, like they're actually searching for information on Google proactively. So they have intent. Facebook is amazing if you have a listing and you're promoting the listing. Again, I have people asking me all the time, when should I use Facebook and when should I use Google? So Facebook and Instagram are the way to go if you're promoting a specific listing. So if you have a listing, and ideally if it looks good, you have good photography and marketing. And again, it doesn't have to be your own listing, it can be someone else's, but you have to have nice photography for it to really work. That's important. Unless you're promoting an investment property, and then it's just about the numbers. The home doesn't have to be beautiful. But if you're advertising a typical property, you know, you're exposing it to users and homeowners, you want to have good photos. Ideally, you want to have some good marketing material and visuals, because Facebook and Instagram is entirely visual. So you have a nice listing, it's well photographed, maybe you have a short video. That's what you use Facebook and Instagram for primarily, because people see a property and they respond to it. So they get excited, they get emotionally hooked, and they say to themselves, I want to learn more about that specific property. But with Google, it's people that are looking for neighborhood information. So they're searching for King West condos for sale, Etobicoke homes for sale, Ronsonsvale's homes, Willowdale homes, Forest Hill, any neighborhoods. Or on Google, they're looking for a type of property like luxury homes for sale, or 2-bedroom condos for sale, or waterfront homes. So they're looking for a neighborhood or they're looking for a type of home. That's when you would use Google. And that just will help you kind of understand when you would want to use one platform over another. So when I have a listing, I'm taking a listing next week. It's a condo in the area where I live in Etobicoke. So I'm going to be running Facebook and Instagram ads for that listing, because I'm going to hire a videographer and I'm going to have a beautiful video, and I'm going to use that video as the ad itself to generate leads. But while that's happening, I'm also running my Google ad campaign on Etobicoke Homes for Sale, because those leads come in every day, regardless of whether I have a listing or not. And it's automatic because the landing page gets automatically updated through IDX. So it refreshes automatically whenever new listings pop up. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people searching every single day for that phrase, Etobicoke homes for sale, Etobicoke houses. And that's just one example of many. Another great neighborhood is Mississauga. There's thousands and thousands of searches in Mississauga. or you can do North York, or you can do um, East York, Danforth. I mean, any major neighborhood is going to have a good amount of monthly traffic and search inquiries. But the beauty is you don't have to guess. The Google keyword tool shows you how many people are actually making those inquiries every month, and you use that to decide which area to focus on. So Julia says, what is the best seller ad for Google? So to tell you the truth, Julia, I don't recommend focusing on seller ads. The reason why is they're way more expensive, and you don't have nearly as many seller leads. And the reason why is, if you think about the psychology of people online, they're looking for homes, they're shopping. So they're interested in listings. That's what their mindset is when they go online regarding real estate. They want listings. Not as many people are going on Google looking for a real estate agent to sell their home. Typically, when somebody sells their home, they ask for a referral, or they'll work with an agent they met in an open house, or if you met them door knocking. Not as many people turn to the internet to find listing agents to work with when they're selling. Now, there are some ads that I have used, and the success has been hit and miss, to be honest with you. I have one video in the Facebook section of the course on targeting seller leads, but generally I find that because the cost is so much higher for seller leads and you don't get nearly as many of them, the best thing to do is you focus on the buyer leads, where you're going to get an overwhelmingly higher number of leads and much, much cheaper. And then a good portion of those buyer leads also have a home to sell. So the listing becomes a byproduct on the back end, because everybody wants to focus on the purchase. That's the fun part. Everyone wants to go shopping. So you connect with them on the buying side, and then the people that are homeowners, you pick up the listing as a byproduct. Once you get into a relationship with them, I feel personally that it's easier to book an orientation tour with people to show them homes than to book a listing appointment with strangers. And that's just me. Everyone's different, but I've had way more success with that approach. And, you know, everybody who has real estate digital marketing experience will tell you that seller leads are much harder to come by and a lot more expensive, unfortunately. So I hope that answers your question, Julia. So someone else had a question. Will command landing pages also notify you right away when someone registers? So Janina is asking about Command, which is a Keller Williams exclusive CRM. To be honest with you, Janina, I haven't used Command. My philosophy is, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And my system and what I teach in the course works so incredibly well, and it's just very, very effective, that I haven't bothered looking into Command. I probably will at some point. But I'm 90% sure the answer is yes. You do get automatically notified. That's pretty standard with most CRMs when a lead comes in. Abid is asking, how does a lead land on a particular page like Etobicoke Homes? So Abid, the landing page is just the destination. So it all starts with where you're getting traffic from. Like, how are you sending people to that website? So in my course, I talk about it extensively, that there are two main vehicles for generating traffic and getting people to your website. One of them is Facebook ads, where you can literally target people based on their interests, their demographics, how old they are, where they live, if they're interested in mortgage loan pages, real estate investment pages, if they're interested in, you know, downsizing, baby pages, daycare, retirement home. So you target people on Facebook based on their demographics, their lifestyle, and if they're in transitionary periods and most likely looking to move. They see your advertisement, so it shows up on their newsfeed. I'm sure you've seen all those ads on your newsfeed when you're scrolling through Facebook. When they see that your ad and they get interested, they click on it. When they click on it, You can send them to a landing page, or you can have a Facebook form pop up automatically where they fill out their contact info. So their name, number, and email address. Now with Google, it's very similar. The difference with Google is people are actually searching on Google Ads. So people go to Google and they're just searching for Mississauga homes or Etobicoke homes. And then your ad pops up in the search results. So if you put in any search inquiry into Google right now, it doesn't matter what it is, cars for sale, massage clinic, doctor, accountant, realtor, you'll see that there are 2 or 3 slots on the top of the first page of Google, and they say sponsored ad. Those are Google ads in motion. And then after the 2 or 3 spots, you'll see all the organic search results, which is search engine optimization, and that works very differently. But what I teach in my course is how to actually show up in the Google search results. So Abid, it's all in my course. I encourage you to just go through the material and then ask questions as you go, and I'm happy to help. But the landing page is the second part of the equation. The first part is you have to find the people and attract them. You have to attract them into your world through your messaging. I hope that makes sense. Does anyone else have any questions or want clarification on anything? Like I said, guys, this is really just an open forum. I want this to be really beneficial for you. Don't be shy. No question is a bad question. I know that it's a learning curve, but I want you guys to succeed. I want you to have results. Jay's asking, have you had success with virtual open houses? Great question, Jay. To be honest, I haven't tried. So I sold a listing. Since this whole pandemic happened, I've sold 1 property. And it wasn't easy because I listed in late March, just when the state of emergency was declared, pretty much about 10 days after, when things really came to a grinding halt. We had 2 showings in 3 weeks, but the funny thing is both showings turned into an offer. So I didn't do a virtual open house, but I did very aggressive marketing with obviously Facebook ads. And also I did a Matterport 3D tour where you can walk through, and it's this, immersive virtual tour, really, really great. And then I did nice photography, and I had a floor plan, and the photos were incredible. And we also had it professionally staged. So my clients moved out while it was listed. They stayed with their parents, and we had it completely staged with furniture and art and everything. And they also painted and just got it, in tip-top condition. But the timing was really challenging. So what was interesting was only 2 showings in 3 weeks, but both showings turned into an offer. The first offer fell through. We just couldn't have a meeting of minds on negotiation. The second offer was better. So we after the first offer fell through, we dropped the price, we relisted, and then we got another offer, and we ended up selling it for more than the first offer. And then what was interesting was, although they sold for a little bit less than what we had talked about, because the market was still in a bit of a lull, we quickly turned around and they bought a home for $1.3 million, which would have easily cost them $1.4 million pre-pandemic. So one thing that's very interesting, if a market starts to stagnate or dip a little bit, it depends where you're at. If you're actually moving up, you can benefit because all ships rise and fall with the tide. So if the prices temporarily come down 10%, instead of selling for, let's say, $1 million, you sell for, $890, right? Or you sell for 900,000, let's say. But then if you're buying a home for 1.4 million, you're basically saving more on overall than what you're losing. So just, that's kind of a sidebar, but it worked out in their favor. So Video versus Matterport. Okay. I'll start with that question. Video versus Matterport. That's a great question. I didn't use a video for my first listing during the pandemic, but I've decided to use both for my upcoming listing next week, because my thinking is the Matterport 3D tour is very, very good for people that aren't physically comfortable going to see properties, because you can see literally every nook and cranny of the home. You can see inch by inch, whereas a video tends to gloss over a lot. Like when you're watching a video tour, it doesn't show every angle of the home, right? Matterport, you can literally go like 360 degrees up, down, all around. So for my upcoming listing, I have decided to do both. The Matterport 3D tour for virtual showings, people that aren't comfortable going to see the property. But then I'm also going to hire a videographer to just push the marketing, and also, frankly, to expose myself, because that's a great way to, blast it out to my database and just market me as well as the home. So yeah, I'm going to do both. It's going to cost a little bit more money, but I think it's definitely important to utilize both tools right now. So someone's asking, Saba, how does the Matterport work? You just hire a photographer or a marketing person who uses 3D Matterport technology. So I use a company called Real.Vision. I'm going to drop a link in the comments. And these guys are great. $300 for photo, Matterport 3D tour, and floor plan, as well as a domain. So personalized site for $300. It's a flat fee. Really good work. They came highly recommended, and I tried them for the first time on my last listing. I'm going to hire them again on this one. But they don't do the video. So they do photos, 3D tours, and floor plans. If you want a video, you have to bring in someone else. So I'm actually bringing in another guy to shoot the HD video, who I've used in the past, who does really good work. So the Matterport, I think, is more important if you have to choose between one, because you're limited on your marketing budget for your listings. I would say the Matterport 3D tour is probably more important right now than the video, because of the people that aren't comfortable going to physically walk through homes, and they need to be able to do everything virtually. But if you can do both, I think it's ideal. Vicky's asking, can a landing page exist without a personal website? It can, Vicky, yes. So in my course, I have standalone landing pages for like pre-construction condos. So I've done a lot of like new development with my pre-construction partners. And for those projects, I would create like standalone landing pages. So like 75, theesplanade.com, riversidesquare.com. Basically, they were standalone project-based sites. And the reason why I created them individually was to create more exclusivity. And it's just more effective because many of the buyers actually think it's the official builder site. And I'm okay with that, because if they think it's the official builder site, they're going to sign up a lot more. And the builder's happy because they're promoting their project even more and they're getting more exposure. So I took that approach, and that was very, very successful. We generated literally thousands of leads and did about 3 dozen pre-con deals using that approach, with multiple projects. But you don't necessarily have to do it that way. So basically, all my resale landing pages are under my main site, which is Find Me a Toronto Home. So I have Etobicoke homes for sale. I have Ronson's Vales, King West, Richmond Hill, Annex. I've literally tried all these different neighborhoods. That's under the same site. But then when I do pre-construction, I do individual landing pages, standalone. And then when I also promote in my farm, I do a separate site called Sudbury Townhomes, because I do a lot of listings in the Sudbury Townhome Complex, downtown, north of Liberty Village. So for that, it's called sudburytownhomes.com, because I can combine different landing pages and listings under that one site. So I hope that makes sense, but basically it depends. as a starting point, I would say just pick a site, your main site, and then you can build out these IDX neighborhood pages. So if you go to my site, Find Me a Toronto Home, and you go to the menu on the top and drop down under communities, you'll see what I mean, how I've built all these community pages and it's all under one umbrella site. It's just an easy starting point. It keeps things simple. And then you can start to build out other standalone landing pages as you go. So I hope that makes sense. The best thing to do if you're new and you're just kind of getting comfortable with all this stuff is to start with one site. Don't create 3 or 4 sites in the beginning. You want to start with one, get some results, understand how it works, and then you can start to layer in more strategies. So great question. Abid is asking, where do you promote pre-construction, Facebook or Google? So they both work very well. I would say that it depends on the timing. And what I mean by that is if the project has already been marketed by the builder and the developer, and they have their advertising all over the city and all over the place, and there's an awareness and people know about it, then they're going to be going on Google searching for that specific project. So if it's One Young or if it's 75 the Esplanade, whatever, any project name, if they know about it and they've heard about it, they're going to go on Google and search for it, in which case Google will work. But what I like to do is I like to start promoting it early before the launch so that I can get a head start and I can generate more leads. So with my partners, we know when a project is coming down the pipeline. We get a heads up pretty early because I have good relationships in pre-construction. So that means I'm using Facebook completely. So I'm running Facebook ads and I'm targeting people that live around the future site. So if the site is going to be at Queen and Broadview, where the building's going to be built, I'm going to target people that live in the Queen and Broadview area that are interested in condominiums, real estate investing, mortgage loans. And I've used that strategy every single time without fail. And it's done wonders. It's done incredibly well. I have the exact step-by-step process laid out in a video on how to create a pre-construction Facebook ad. You'll find that in the Facebook ad section of the course. That's been really, really effective. So basically, the answer is Facebook ads is going to work no matter what, and Google will work for pre-construction once there's an awareness about the project and people are actually searching for it. Now, you could capture leads on Google for people that are just searching for downtown pre-construction or new condos, but there's going to be more leads generally on Facebook if you can have some renderings, if you can share some marketing materials and people can visually see what it looks like. So I've never used Google ads for pre-construction. I'm sure it's effective, but I've had a lot of success with Facebook. Hi, Vicky. No, the site is called findmeatorontohome.com. I'll just drop it in the comments. So you can just, I don't know why the link didn't show up, but you can just copy and paste that. Findmeatorontohome.com. This is my main go-to site, and it's not the sexiest site. It's not the most modern site. It's actually pretty basic, but it works incredibly well. And the most important thing about generating leads is not how beautiful the site is, but how effective it is. I talk to agents all the time that spend thousands of dollars on a gorgeous website with really slick branding and colors. And then I ask them, like, so are you generating leads? And they're like, well, not yet. Okay, well, do you want to win the beauty contest or do you want to build your business? Because really, it doesn't have to be the most state-of-the-art, gorgeous, up-to-date site. It just has to work. And this site I've used for years. I haven't updated it. I haven't changed it. I've been using this for about 5 years now. and it's been working just as well now as when I first started, even better now because there's more online traffic. So use this site as a reference. This is offered through Agent Locator. Now, they don't advertise this site on their website. It's called the branded website. On their site, they advertise the unbranded site. And the unbranded site is much more expensive. It's $159 a month. And it's a lot more advanced with all kinds of functionality and tools, but it's not necessary. This one that I use is called the branded site. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. And it's only $59 a month plus a $500 setup fee. So when you contact Agent Locator, you have to ask for the branded site, and you'll get this one here. I don't feel the need to use the more expensive one. I just don't think it's makes sense. So Saba's asking, if you don't have your own listings, what strategy do you use to choose something on MLS? Get permission, of course, but what characteristics do you look in a listing to attract more people? What strategy do you use to choose something? So basically, Saba, the most important thing is that the listing is nice. You know, Facebook is all about eye candy, right? The prettier it is, the more leads you're going to get, bottom line. So if it's a condo, it should have great photos. It should be well marketed. It should have some kind of wow factor, ideally, a great view, a great floor plan, nice renovations. If it's a single family home, same thing. It should be bright. It should be beautiful. It should be well photographed. Or if you have a video, the marketing is so important because that's how you create, that's what attracts people to your ad, right? They see it. So it all starts with a really nice video or photo that pops, that people get attracted to. So that's the first thing I would look for. And then the next thing is obviously where it's located. So, you know, depending on the area you want to work, like for example, I work Toronto Central, Etobicoke. I'm not going to promote a listing in Newmarket, right? Because that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't want to work in that area, or I'm not going to promote a listing in Scarborough or in Aurora. So obviously you have to think about the areas that you want to work in, because wherever the listing is located, those are the types of leads you're going to attract who are looking in that neighborhood. So basically you want to start with the neighborhood that you want to actually work in. And then you want to find a nice looking listing on MLS and reach out to the listing agent and say, hey, would you mind if I advertise your listing? And most agents will be fine with it, because it's just a win-win. It's added exposure for them, and then it gives you a chance to pick up leads or even sell the home. So Julia's asking, do you have two sites for yourself, branded and unbranded? So Julia, I only have one Agent Locator site, which is the branded site. It's a little confusing because they call it the branded site, but mine looks unbranded because it's not about me. It's not about Jason Weinberger. My photo is nowhere to be found on this site. That's why I called it Find Me a Toronto Home. So it's technically called the branded site with Agent Locator, but then you can make it look unbranded. And the reason why I did not brand it around me and my face and my personal brand is because you're going to get way more leads when it's not about you. This site is all about properties. It's all about listings, and that's why it works. This is a huge, huge, huge deal. You know, so many agents, you go to their site and the first thing you see is, right? You see like ego, you see it's all about me. You see the agent just like popping off the page. And like, if you're a mega agent and you have a huge market share, don't get me wrong, that's the way to go. But that takes years and years and years. I certainly don't have that type of brand power. So what I've done is I've made it all about them. Instead of being all about me, it's all about the user. And that's why I called my site Find Me a Toronto Home, because I'm finding them a Toronto home. Imagine that. What are the chances? And it's not about me. My information is in the fine print at the bottom of the page just to be RICO compliant. but that's about it. So when you, just like realtor.ca or just like Zillow, when the site is all about them and about the listings, then it becomes an informational site as opposed to a salesy realtor site. If somebody searches for a home on Google or responds to a Facebook ad, and the first thing they see when they land on your site is a realtor, most people get intimidated. Like I said, unless you have a huge brand and you're just like a mega agent, then they'll want to work with you and it'll actually be a positive. But generally, it intimidates people when they see a realtor on your site. They want to feel like they're getting what they want. And 95% of what people want is listings. They want to look at properties. They want to flip through photos. They want to look at the virtual tour. They want to look at the Google Street View. They want to look at the walk score. They want to run some basic numbers with the mortgage calculator. You ideally want to have those things integrated into your site, which Agent Locator has, which is great because it has all these tools for them to kind of explore and click around. Then you want to send them listings, and then you want to get on the phone, connect with them, and offer home orientation tours. And that for me has overwhelmingly been the best path to success with internet leads. And it's just rinse and repeat. So I hope that makes sense about the branding yourself versus branding around the properties. It's a really, really big deal to do that, and it makes a world of difference. And don't forget, guys, you don't have to use Agent Locator. There are other great IDX websites. Incom is a good one. One of our students in the course, his name's Terry Kutros. He uses Incom, and he's had a lot of success with it. So you can check out some other options, but I've only ever used Agent Locator. They've been amazing, and that's what I reference in the course. And my strategy is always, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yes, it's always good to get permission, Saba. I just wanted to mention, just going back to your question, always get written permission when you're advertising another agent's listing. Now, with IDX, sites like Agent Locator or Incom, you don't need to get permission because permission has already been given. Consent has already been given. These listings that feed into the IDX system that show on the site, like Agent Locator or Incom, they've already given permission when they signed out the listing agreement. You know how you have that little box that you can check that says, I agree to advertise this on other websites. So that's what's great, is that they've already consented. You don't have to reach out individually and ask for permission. You only have to do that if you're like building a specific landing page, or if you're using a Facebook ad and you want to incorporate someone else's listing into your ad, then you have to reach out. And like I said, most agents will be totally fine with it. They'll want you to help promote their listing. I sure as hell want that. Whenever an agent reaches out to me, I'm happy to have them promote it. The more the better, even though I'm going to generate way more leads than them. So who else has a question for me? I love all the engagement, guys. Keep it coming. I really like all the participation. Some really good questions. Does anyone else have anything to ask me, or should I just continue to ramble on?
Hi, Jason. I have a quick question. Sorry, I was on mute because I got my baby.
Hi, Saba. No problem. Go ahead.
So when you call them and you offer the orientation tour during that first call, then you don't really do a buyer presentation to them, right? About the processes of buying and this and that, all that whole spiel that we have a presentation on, right? When do you do that?
So that's a great question. So I shouldn't say that I only offer orientation tours. It depends on the conversation. So typically, if I'm calling someone, the first thing I do is I want to qualify them. Like, I want to ask qualifying questions to make sure that they're a real buyer. So I'll introduce myself. I'll say, Hi, it's Jason Weinberger from Find Me a Toronto Home. Thank you so much for visiting my site. I see you're interested in Etobicoke homes for sale. I'd love to help you with your search. Are you considering making a move in the next 12 months? So that's what I'll open with. And then they'll answer, and then I'll just probe. I'll say, great, what's your experience been? Have you been out looking at any homes? Have you gone to any open houses in the past? Or are you just starting to browse online? So I want to know where they're at in their journey, how far along they are. And then I'll ask them, do you have a realtor that's helping you with your search? Because I want to ask that question early, obviously, because if they are working with an agent, I want to be able to politely end the call sooner than later. Um, and then I'll ask, is this your first time buying? Have you owned before? Do you currently own your home? Are you renting? Do you have to sell before you buy? What type of home are you looking for? What's the price point you're comfortable with? How far north, south, east, west are you comfortable going? What else is important to you? How many bedrooms, bathrooms? So I'll ask all the relevant questions. And then based on how the conversation goes, if they're a first time buyer, and I feel like they're very receptive to my questions and the conversation's going well, I'll usually go for the sit down consultation. Lately, it's been Zoom consultations, but either way. So if I feel like they're receptive and they're call's going well, I'll go for the meeting, because I would rather have a meeting to really like rule out the people that are not able to buy and make sure they're serious before I show them homes. But if they're not open to the meeting, so I'll usually ask them if they're first time buyer initially, if they'd like to meet. If they're not willing to meet, then I'll say, okay, well, why don't we go see a couple of properties? I can take you on a complimentary orientation tour just to show you what's available and educate you. There's no obligation. I do about 2 or 3 of them a week. And I find they're very helpful for people just like you. You're not allowed to buy anything. It's just exploratory. Are evenings, daytimes, or weekends best for you? And then they'll tell me and I'll say, great, I've got Tuesday at 6 or Friday at 2. What works best for you? Fantastic. So I'll send you a Google email reminder now. You can plug it in your calendar and I'll call you the day before to confirm. But if they're a move up buyer and it's not their first rodeo, then I'll always go for the orientation tour. So with move up buyers, I used to go for the consultation or the listing appointment, but I wasn't getting much success. And then what I realized is move up buyers, they've been through the process. Like they've been there, they've done that. They don't need as much hand holding. They just want to go out and see homes. So if someone is moving up and they've owned before, then I'll focus more on the orientation tour right off the bat versus trying to book a consultation with them. And then while we're out looking at homes, I'll kind of have a consultation on the go. Like while I'm showing them around, I'll be asking questions. So what do you think? Is this really along the lines of what you're looking for? Do you guys have do you have a liquid deposit available? Have you been pre-approved? Would you like to get in touch with my mortgage broker? She's fantastic. She works with over 24 lenders. She can provide very competitive rates and terms. So then I'll kind of do like a consultation on the go while I'm showing them around and kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And then what's really helpful about the orientation tour is even if they're not buying that day, and most of them won't be, some of them will, but most of them won't be. But it gives you a frame of reference as the realtor, because now you can see how they respond to, like if you're showing someone 3 or 4 homes, you see what they like, what they don't like. It gives you a much better idea of, what type of home they're looking for. So yeah, that's how I approach it. And that approach has worked very well for me. So just to summarize, if it's a first time buyer, I'll really push for the consultation, and I call it like a first time home buyer consultation. I'll walk you through the A to Z's of buying your first property. You probably have a lot of questions between social media, water cooler conversation, what your colleagues are talking about at work, what your neighbors are saying. I like to just lay it all out for you guys and just talk to you about how to plan, what's important, what's not. We'll talk about market conditions, especially with COVID-19, all the changes. We'll talk about getting prepared financially with the pre-approval, the deposit requirements. We'll talk about the logistics of putting together an offer, time frame, and then I'll turn it over to you and we'll talk about your wish list so I can get a sense of what's important to you. And then by the end of the meeting, you'll have a great idea of what to expect, and I'll see if I can earn your business for future, for down the road. How does that sound? Right. And most first time buyers love that because what they need more than anything is leadership. They need direction. They need guidance. They need to know what to do. But people that are move ups, they just want to go out there and look at homes. It's a very different dynamic. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. So I've got a question from, you're welcome, Julia. Thank you for that compliment. Linda is asking, for the Facebook ads, have you used the slideshow instead of picture or video? Any suggestions for that to attract potential leads? Great question, Linda. So I actually experiment between video, photos, and slideshows. There's no right or wrong answer. I find that if the property is beautiful, slideshows work pretty well because you can really kind of showcase different aspects of the home in one frame, because the slideshow, it like auto rotates and they can kind of see like 3 rooms right away, which is pretty cool. Although, you know, video works fantastic as well. Single images are really just, you know, straightforward and easy to set up. And if you have a really compelling single image, it can do very well as well, like especially if it's like a wow factor. So whenever you're deciding on which photos to use in your ad, you always want to use the most impressive rooms, angles. You know, if it's a renovated kitchen, like the kitchen is the heart of the home. That's where people's attention usually goes. But my answer to you, Linda, would be there's no right or wrong. Just experiment. You really can't go wrong with either of those, picture, video, or slideshow. Do you have a limit? Do you have to limit the time of the video? Yes. So Facebook ads, I believe it still has a limit of 1 minute. Instagram has a limit of 1 minute for the videos. The Facebook videos can run as long as like 10 or 15 minutes, I think. So if you're showing your ads on Instagram as well, in the placements, when you're choosing your placements, just make sure that if it's on Instagram, it's under 1 minute. Otherwise, it will automatically cut off. As far as I know, that's still how it works unless they've changed something recently. But generally speaking, I would suggest that you keep the videos under 1 minute anyways, because keep in mind that people have very short attention spans online, and you just don't want to overdo it. You don't want to drag it out. You want to, like, I've had some videos that were originally 1 minute and 30 seconds, and I've actually sped them up. Like, I've edited them in like video editing software, sped them up so they're 1 minute, just because it's like, it flows, it's faster, it's a little more punchy. So I would say keep it under 1 minute as a general rule of thumb. Sometimes you can do well with even 15 or 30 seconds. All right, everyone. Any last minute questions or feedback? I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for jumping on this mastermind. Great to connect with you all. I'm going to be continuing to do these monthly, so stay tuned for the next one in July. I'll keep you posted. And in the meantime, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me through the group. I'd be happy to help. And happy lead generating. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.